Hello, hello. This is Candace Leyenbauer. I'm with Tapestry Academy and Microschool South Florida. Tonight we have an online info session with 3 new amazing schools in our area down here in South Florida. We have Fernanda Wolfson, and she's from Cocoplum Nature School. We have Jonathan Miola from Open Tent Academy, and we have Teryliz Aguire. Is that right?
Yeah, Aguire.
Aguire. I knew I was saying that wrong. And she's from TLC Classical Academy Prep down in Miami. Thank you so much for joining us. This is, I believe, our 5th info meeting that we've done, and it's really great. I love hearing the positive feedback we get. These will be recorded online in the future, so if you ever want to learn more about what they offer, you're welcome to go check out the other different schools in our area. So the whole purpose of getting together tonight, as we've said before, is to just introduce the community to non-traditional education. And what better way than to talk to people who are already doing that. We're in the field, we're meeting with students and kids, whether online or in person, and it's a really great opportunity to share how to do it. How do you get in? It's easy to do it once you've been doing it, but how do you do it if you've never done it before, right? All right, tonight we are also talking about apathy in students. And I know we've all seen that before, the kid who doesn't want to learn just sits there. So that's kind of some of the conversation topics that we'll be discussing after we're all done doing what we do. All right, today, Fernanda, are you ready to go first?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Absolutely. So Fernanda is visiting us from Vacationville.
Yes, I'm in Acapulco, Mexico, where I'm originally from. So hello from paradise, wherever you are. So yes, I would love to introduce myself and my project along with co-founder Melanie Stefanovic. She could not be here today. She's doing a consulting work in Utah, I believe. Anyway, so we started Cocoplum Nature School. Sorry?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So we started Cocoplum Nature School a couple years ago as a dream, really first. As mothers and educators, we saw the need, and we knew that we could offer for our children more than what was out there. So we started Cocoplum Nature School, and Cocoplum Nature School is based in Delray Beach, Florida. We're a nonprofit organization. We serve families from kindergarten to 3rd grade. This year, we're going to start 3rd grade. And we have a satellite program for pre-K, so children 4 to 5 and 6, and we do mixed age groups. Thank you. So we do. Are you able to see my slides somewhere?
Yes. Do you want me to share that?
If possible, yes, please. Thank you, Candy.
All right, let me see if I can pull them up here. Oh, I think this is it. All right, how does that look?
That's terrific. Would you bring me to the 2nd slide?
Yes, let me remember how to do that. Hold on just a second. Once upon a dirty desktop. Okay, I should probably be in present mode. Let's see if I can do the next. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, okay. So that's my co-founder and my executive director, and my sister Melanie Stefanovic, Dr. Melanie Stefanovic, and myself. We are the co-founders. Thank you, Candy. So you get you get to see us.
Excellent.
Can we go to the next one, please?
Yeah, sure.
Am I doing the whole presentation now, or just our project?
Your turn.
Okay, yeah. So basically, we're a nonprofit, and our vision really is to nurture children and to respect motivation to learn, using nature and play and place as our pillars. Next, please. So Cocoplum Nature School dwells in the middle of these 3 pillars. So place, nature, and play. We use place as our classroom, really, our city. And then nature obviously is everything around us. We try to take the children to nature, to areas, and we're the time they discover all the concepts that that we will flesh out through play. So you will find us in the middle.
I love that. Your microphone's kind of cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh, I'm in my phone. I don't know how to fix that.
All right, well, we'll keep going, and if it gets really bad, I'll let you know.
Sure. All right, thank you. So I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but if you are out there thinking, should I try this alternative mode of education, this model where they preach, nature or nature and play? So yes, there are myriads of benefits to nature-based education, starting with their physical health. Children overall are just healthier. They spend less time on screens. They have less sedentary time, and they engage in more moderate activity. And actually inside of their bodies, they're healthier. They tend to get sick less because they're exposed to more bacteria. I mean, we do wash hands, but yes, they're more resilient. Their immune systems tend to be more resilient.
Very cool.
So furthermore, in natural settings, we have observed that the children are able to do greater conflict resolution because they have more abilities than just the teacher telling them what to do and when, but they try to figure things out. We have observed gains in self-esteem. They are more independent. They make their own decisions and take risks. And this is from research. It's not just us observing it. We're corroborating with what research indicates. There's also better peer-to-peer relationships. The children are better at problem solving and being motivated. We also foster love for stewardship of the earth. So we observe that it's they know how to conserve the environment, and they also in the long run, there's a few robust bodies of research that indicate that the children improve in standardized scores, in test scores later, not in the earlier years, but later. Next, please. So I quote Miller and Almond. They did a meta-analysis in 2009, and also the National Institutes for Health in a decade later, 2019. So the first body of research found that by fourth grade, children educated in nature-based schools surpass their peers from traditional schools in academics, social and emotional well-being, as well as creativity and environmental awareness. So you might see at the beginning, let's say first, second, third grade, that they might not be quote unquote performing in the same academic level as peers in traditional settings, but they have other pillars in their thinking, in the way of investigating things, and the way they follow through with their projects. And by fourth grade, they have surpassed any academic gain from their peers. And the National Institute for Health research showed the similar things, that in academic context, nature-based instruction outperforms traditional instruction. Next, please. Mm-hmm. So what does Cocoplum do to achieve all this? We surround the children with the conditions for learning, for that learning to naturally emerge. We give them an environment of tranquility and joy and happiness. We protect their intrinsic motivation. Thank you. We do things in mixed groupings because that's how society is. Children of different ages getting along and building a community. And last but not least, we surround them with real, relevant, hands-on experiences for their learning. Next, please. We aim to be respectful and consent-based. We do not coerce them to do what they don't want to do. Looks a little messy at times. I'm sure we're gonna get to talk about it at the end of this forum. But yeah, we aim to be respectful and consent-based. We're evidence-based. We're both researchers, Melanie and I. So we're always, tuning into what research shows. We're active and very playful. We are not sedentary and clean. You will see muddy clothes all over. We integrate subject areas. Every subject you want to cover with the children, we integrate throughout the day and the week. We don't do things disconnected. We offer concrete and experiential experiences, and we adapt. The children come with different abilities, and because they're mixed age, we adapt to their abilities, and we're very much individualized. Next, please. We use the emergent curriculum based on the Reggio Emilia model, which in a nutshell, to simplify, says that you follow the interest of the children, and that's where you flesh out whatever other experience you're going to bring. But it's always stemming from what the children are interested in. As I said previously, we focus on the group as a whole, so they teach each other and help each other. We also incorporate a bilingual model that it's quite simple. We don't force anybody to learn or memorize anything, but our Spanish speaking teachers use a lot of phrases that the children playfully pick up. And we do guide our teaching by standards. We use the BEST standards, the Florida BEST standards, formerly Common Core. And now we have the National Council for Teachers of Science and Mathematics. And that's how we document learning. Thank you so much. You can find us at cocoplumnatureschool.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernanda. That was really great. I know that I met you in person. When was it? Maybe 2 months ago at the Vela.
At the beginning of the month, I think.
Yeah, and I just heard that you recently received the Vela Fund.
Yes, we did. You want me to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, maybe for 1 second.
Yes, 1 second. We got it. We got the grant. It was not such a hard process, but the content had to be of the highest quality possible. So we're just honored and happy.
That's so exciting. I think that's amazing that there are grants out there to be able to help, small little schools get started in non-traditional ways. Well, excellent. And just, does anyone have any quick questions for Fernanda on her program as you're listening? I know my question is, do you ever meet in a building or are you always outside?
We do have a building with classrooms and bathrooms. So we just go in for direct reading instruction because that is a concrete skill that the children do have to develop. It's only like 20 minutes max a day. And of course, if there's inclement weather outside, we do meet inside. Otherwise, we're outside all day.
That's awesome. Well, Florida is the town of inclement weather.
Do the children get graded? Do they receive grades?
No, we do not have grades. No, we don't. Every 8 weeks, we offer families something called narrative, all the teams. And we do tag all the standards that we cover. So we do tell families like this next 8 weeks, we're gonna, work on whatever, area we see that needs to be strengthened.
Gotcha. So you tell the parents beforehand what you're going to be doing and then what standards you're going to be covering in that time, but no grades.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, your microphone just turned off.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's not prescriptive. It's just things that we would like to achieve next based on what the kids are showing interest or that child. For example, just to give you a quick example, they were fascinated with chess. So what we did is we just looked back to standards to see what we can peg chess to. So we told the parents like, hey, we're going to hire a chess teacher for the next 8 weeks. So these are the standards we're going to be working on. So that's how we, show progress.
Excellent, like project units. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Fernanda. I love that. Jonathan, it looks like you are going to be next talking about Open Tent Academy. And Jonathan and his wife, Eva, have And they're doing a program called Open 10 Academy, which is online, I believe, but you also have an in-person learning library down here in South Florida, which I thought was pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to offer.
Yes, yeah, we're in the process actually of putting that online library together. So that is something that is ongoing and really serving as a resource center for homeschoolers all over South Florida. Basically, to help support them, by giving them some good programming that they can use. As initially, we're going to be dealing with a lot with like Fun Friday type programming, different activities. We are also going to eventually, our goal is to expand into a physical center as well, where classes, seminars, workshops, and all can take place for homeschoolers as well as for their families. So they're able basically to, benefit from the full experience. And it kind of goes back to our roots and really my wife's roots in homeschooling, from where we had initially got started in terms of, teaching our own kids, even though they're all now grown and flown and in their 20s, and, gone on to different things. We want to be able to kind of, put forward our experience and background and everything that we've been doing and share that with the community at large. And that it's just in addition to the classes that we offer through Open Tent, which we have been doing so for about 12 years online, and the last 7 we've rebranded or so as Open Tent. So it's been a fun experience overall, and we want to just continue the fun.
That's great. 10 years. That's a whole decade.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't want to date myself or my wife, as well. But our roots in Florida go back deep. We definitely been here, even though we've been away at different parts of our lives. We grew up on MacArthur, and watching. Some of the, I guess I could throw some things out there in terms, but it probably would even I guess I don't want to date myself. But I live in Aventura, and I look across at Sunny Isles, and I remember when Sunny Isles, A, was Sunny Isles, and B, it was all 2-story buildings, and now it is, towers as far as the eyes can see. So anyway, enough, I guess, on that. If it's possible, I'd like to share my screen just for a moment.
Sorry, I
you
just
can
need to
allow me to share, and I'll pull
all right,
that up a
you're
little bit
awesome.
better. A little bit better than just seeing me, talking with my, background there. Hold 1 second. Okay, hopefully you should see our website piece there in the background. Anyway, go ahead and fix this. So, what can we say? First of all, Fernanda, that was a great presentation. Great information and a lot of good, facts and figures and understanding of, exactly why people, should go into homeschooling. Definitely a great perspective. I think one thing that's important is that to understand is that there are a lot of different faces to what homeschooling can be. It can be definitely engaging in, these outdoors and these different types of activities. It can also be, supplemental. It could be project-based, working with students, for short periods of time during the week. And I guess that's kind of where I'll get into a little bit about Open Tent and who we are. First of all, we are a online, I guess you could say consortium is the word my wife likes to use, of educators, all of who have homeschooling experience, degreed, and have teaching experience as well, who've come back and decided to go ahead and offer and share their particular skill sets in the classroom with students from all over the world. And as I mentioned, we've been doing Open Tent for about 12 years. My wife has been doing online classes, 7 years. We rebranded as Open Tent, but our homeschooling roots go deep. My wife Eva Goldstein Miola started homeschooling pretty much the day she brought our oldest, my stepdaughter, to kindergarten, where she tested. And at the time, my wife was a teacher of reading and writing. She's a reading and writing specialist, has her master's in that discipline, and brought her in for testing. And at the age of 5, she tested pretty much to the way out of level, to the point where the school wanted to put her in 3rd grade as a 5-year-old. And my wife's reaction to that and to the principal who was giving her this news was basically, there's no way you're putting my 5-year-old in with all these 8 and 9-year-olds in class. And as the words rolled out of her mouth, I guess I'll just have to homeschool her. Principal pretty much says, so I guess that's your leave of absence or resignation. And that's pretty much how it got started. She started homeschooling my stepdaughter, and one of the things my stepdaughter wanted to do was to take writing classes, to learn how to write. Her focus initially was very much as a liberal arts literary focus, and she didn't just want to take the classes by herself. She wanted friends to take part, and before you knew it, it grew where it was a few friends and then adding on different classes. And before my wife knew it, she was teaching classes all over Western Massachusetts and later on in Northern Virginia at different locations, full-time, pretty much filled up her week with different classes, different cycles. The online piece started a couple of years ago, where we went into, decided that we needed to help with our families who were outside of the geographical area. We were outside of the geographical area, and a lot of them wanted to be able to have the ability to take classes online, and not just writing classes, but classes in all other sorts of disciplines. And you know, as I said, we work with students in grades 1 through 12. We focus on writing, but we also do history, science, math, you know, foreign language, arts, and you know, this was done years even before, you know, before the whole COVID cycle hit. So when COVID hit, we basically started working nonstop, and it's been like that until just, you know, up until the present, pretty much for the past 2 years. And we are going to continue offering our courses. We have several hundred students all over the globe, and we are also working in South Florida as well on special projects. Thanks for your time.
That was great. Thank you, Jonathan. Let's have you stop share there.
Sure.
And we can see your lovely face. Is it working?
Hold on, I want to pause, stop. Got it. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Yeah,
Sorry
your website looks so awesome compared to mine.
It's a project in motion, as I said. It's an ongoing project, but you know, like I said, it's basically just a place for, you know, parents to find information, syllabi, class registration. We also have a big Facebook page, you know, with all sorts of like homeschooling tips. My wife has been very active in developing and sharing, again, that knowledge that she's had and that I've had as well, you know, and putting that forward for not just our parents, but for the general homeschooling community.
So this is a question from the educator side. Do you do your website yourself, or do you pay for somebody to do it for you?
Actually, we do it ourselves. Prior to my coming back and going into teaching, I was basically a consultant in the I guess you could say the software world, business process, and I actually worked on the first release of internet service. I mean, I can, like, again, dating myself back to the early 90s when AT&T was challenging America Online for your attention with all those little disk packages to sign up for free internet. That's an effort I was a part of, and I've been web developing off and on pretty much ever since.
Well,
to the point where my wife is actually kind of annoyed at times because there's some things I can fix and things that I, you know, I'm a little dated on. So, you know, it's always a little bit of a challenge. I don't always recommend it. There are great packages out there, some do-it-yourself things you can do, but, you know, definitely it's important to make sure that everything works more than anything
I hear you.
else.
Well, it looks really good. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing that with us. I'm excited about your reference library. I thought about something like that a long time ago, and I just think it's exciting to share things with
Yeah,
each
no,
other.
we're definitely looking forward with that, and we actually are getting started with a. We're not going back to school party in the next couple
Oh yeah, I
of
saw that.
weeks. Uh, so if you go on Facebook and look up South Florida Homeschool Resource Center, just write it out like it sounds. You should be able to find it. And even though it's kind of separate from Open Tent, in the sense it's really more about providing locally and the resources. Again, it comes out of our love for homeschooling and really kind of spread the message and working with
Excellent.
people from all different places, all different backgrounds on it.
And isn't that what it's all about anyway? Making connections with other. I
Oh,
think we're
absolutely,
here for. This is what we're here tonight.
absolutely.
We're meeting each
That
other.
yes, yes.
So excellent. Well,
Thank you.
Teryliz, it's your turn. I loved looking at your website. I've looked at it off and on for the last couple of months. That's why I invited you to come today. But
Uh,
it's really fun. I'd love to hear more about what you have to offer. Take it away.
okay, I've been a teacher for 35 years, and I worked in a lot of different schools, a lot of different, whether they were charter schools or public schools or private schools. But I always found there was something missing in all those big classrooms. Children were not being helped individually to the point that they could be. Everybody was pretty much cookie cutter. It had to fit the same mold of learning, and that went against who I am. I I always like to implement music and dance and games into every area I teach. I didn't like being told that I had to change to the next subject because of the time, or that I had to go on even if the children didn't understand. It was all about the grade, and that the children needed to be where they needed to be and worry about the high ones. And you don't have time for the ones that are not going to pass. To me, all the kids mattered the same. So I felt I was doing a disadvantage to myself and my students if I wasn't providing the same education to all of them. So I started my untraditional way of teaching, with a lot of music and dancing and games. I have a game that goes with every subject, every lesson that I teach. So it's a very hands on, very fun way of learning. It goes tied to classical education, which is the traditional old fashioned Christian Catholic education of history, geography. Um, we teach Latin, Greek, and Spanish at the school, so the children tie it to the roots of the words already. It's a K through 6 homeschool pod. So the parents that are not teachers are trying to teach classical at home, but they run into difficulties. So they bring them to the center, and they get taught those lessons by us teachers, and they get to intertwine with other children, and they are challenged and motivated, and they love being there because they're all mixed. All the kids are get their own individualized attention, even though they are working with kids of different ages. um, and if a child is behind, they wouldn't know it at the center because all our books are color coded, but they don't say a grade on them. So they are all like, if I have a child that enters second grade and it's reading at a kinder level, he wouldn't know that I'm giving him a kinder book. So I would give him a kinder book or first grade that he needed to fill in gaps, and then he'd feel really good and fill in those gaps easier at a lower level, and then advance him so he gets a lot of praise, a lot of self-esteem, a lot of motivation to keep going. Vice versa, if they're really high, they keep going up in colors. So they are never sitting there bored waiting for someone else. They're each working at their own individual levels, and they're getting challenged and motivated and rewarded. And it's a very loving ambience, very untraditional. They never lose recess, they never lose treasure box. All the children are encouraged at all times. If they make a mistake, we talk about it, and what hurts the most is to see me sad about something they've done or they've disappointed me in, and that's less than enough. The way that we speak to them, they cry in sadness of letting me down or letting a friend down, the lessons learned. But they do not ever sit out or are made fun of or ridiculed by anyone, not even the other children. There's no bullying. They all help each other at all levels. We do history together. It doesn't matter what grade you're in. So the little ones are listening to the older ones. And we just took our first Terra Nova examination from grade kinder through fifth, just to see how we compared to the schools out there, the Catholic schools. And it was outrageous. They scored almost 100 percentile across at every grade level. They were so high compared to the traditional curriculum that's being taught, cookie cutter. And here, I had no children behind anymore. I had filled in all the gaps, and they are all at a grade or two higher than where they entered. So, and they don't even realize it, because it's all through fun and singing and dancing and STEM and projects and the whole thing. I'm very excited to have had the opportunity to do this.
I love that. So maybe I saw on your website that you said that you were expanding and getting a few more teachers. Maybe you can tell us a little bit how that's going.
Yes, we used to be one classroom where we were all together. Now we've broken up into 3, where there's going to be no more than 10 in each classroom, and we're all following the same protocol. Sorry, and teaching the same way. But the parents are really looking forward to doing their homeschooling with the help of teachers.
I love
That's
that. So how often are the kids with you? So if, say, my child were to go to your school, how often would they be with me, and how often would they be with you?
That's really up to the parent. There's no mandatory amount of days they have to go as homeschoolers, but what's happening is that they want to be there. So for the most part, they're going 6 hours a day. And they're kind of relinquishing all the learning being done at the school, because the kids want to go. They're so happy. And the moms are seeing the progress and the lessons being taught by teachers. Since they're not teachers, they're getting the best of both. The children are socializing and everything.
I love that. It's kind of like, here's what we're offering. You can come if you'd like to, but they all want to come because they all really love it.
Yes.
Well, excellent. And that sounds great. Well, maybe I can just ask you really quick. How did you get started in your journey when you very first got the idea of, I'm gonna do something different?
I was very saddened with the school system and what I was being forced to do and not do. So I started tutoring from my house and teaching children that were struggling in my own different way with music and games. And the children were progressing so well that then when the homeschool thing started, the parents were asking me, oh, would you homeschool them? And would you keep teaching them like that? And it just started growing. And
I love that. Don't they,
yeah.
What do they say? Don't race after somebody to get students. You need to attract them. So by what you're doing, you get people to come to you. I love that.
Yes, thank you.
Well, excellent. Well, we've learned about 3 really great non-traditional learning options here in South Florida. And now comes to my favorite part of why we do these meetings. It is the discussion that we get to have with each other about non-traditional education. And today the topic is, what do you do with those apathetic students? You know, the kid who is just like, we've all seen them before. The one who's like, you're not teaching me anything. I'm just going to sit here and then I'm going to wait for the time to go by and then it's over. So Teryliz, you were just talking. It sounds to me like none of your students fit that category.
Well, they might come in like that. They might come in like that. But as soon as you empower a child with their own learning and you take away what they're feeling, because when they don't want to learn and they have that apathy, it's usually because they've been turned off to education and learning, and they feel bad about something, or they don't feel smart, or they don't feel that it's easy for them, or it's something they fit in. So they kind of start shrugging it off. So they tune off and they don't want to learn. But when you give them you empower them with their own learning and their advancement, and there's so much praise, and they feel successful and that it's working, that gets switched. It gets switched.
That's amazing. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? Say you had a student come in. How long do you think it takes to get somebody to turn from apathetic to interested and engaged?
Not long. It takes a few weeks because of what they watch happening around them and with themselves. They get rewarded and praised for every little thing they go mastering. So the more they hear that, wow, and I can't believe you just did that. That was so incredible. I'm so proud of you. And then they get rewarded with these little TLC dollars that I have that, that they collect. And those TLC dollars are worth so much to them because at the end of the week, they use them for shopping. So they take pride in collecting those TLC dollars, which can be for the right answer, for working hard, for completion of work, whatever that child needs to get that apathy out of the way and believing in themselves. The dollars are used differently for each child, the area that I need to strengthen or empower them with.
Excellent.
So, yeah, so it works really well.
Fantastic. What about you, Fernanda? Are you able to join in?
Yes, I'm right here. Yes, I would love to answer that question. So we do get some students that express resistance, but we do not label it as bad or good. We just try to understand behavior before before labeling it. So to give you an example, we have a few things that are fixed in our schedule, such as book club and garden activity. So those things they're non-negotiable. So those are part of you being in the school. If you are part of the school, then you're part of these activities. But say, and also when an expert comes to make a presentation, like the other day we had a geologist come, and those are things that everybody has to participate. But for the other things, if we see that a student is really not motivated, we just try to get curious about what's happening. And then we'll find out, maybe the parents had a conflict the day before, or maybe the child is, say, afraid of bees. The other day we had a bee expert come. So we try to stay curious about the roots of the behavior. And because of our activities being so child-led, it's not very common that we encounter that. And remember, we're an emergent curriculum. We do not impose any lesson plans. We don't impose any timelines. So it's rare that a child will be like stonewalling forever and ever. But we try to connect with a child before trying to achieve any academic work. So that's how we go about it.
Interesting that you bring up the bees. That's a crazy thing that you wouldn't normally think of, but figuring out the why it is that they're acting the way that they are acting. There is typically a reason. Okay, so Jonathan, do you have any input? What do you do with an apathetic student?
Well, it's really a matter for us of working with not just the student, but with the family, parents, or whoever is responsible for the student as well. We're in a little bit of a different situation because we are virtual, so it does put a little bit more of I won't say a burden, but it definitely puts more of a challenge for us to go ahead and engage with the students as well as with the parents. And just understand a little bit of our structure and how we teach and run our classes. When we say virtual, we're not talking virtual in the sense of what a lot of people went through with COVID, with the way a lot of the public school systems handled it, with kids online 7, 8, 9 hours a day in front of a screen. Our classes run anywhere from 45 minutes up to 90 minutes in length. Students meet once a week. It's very much for self-starters. It's very project-driven, project-oriented, goal-oriented, and it's really a partnership with the family as a whole. Getting parent buy-in. I mean, we kind of see ourselves as sort of like that. I guess I wouldn't say a backup plan, but sort of like the person who a parent can hand off with if they feel that that they're overtasked with their own homeschooling activity, and they need to call on somebody, sort of like a relief pitcher, to kind of go ahead and handle a particular subject. With writing, for example, a lot of times we've had parents who've spoken with us and say, students it can very oppositional with them, with any sort of criticism or any sort of any demand, even in a sense of following the structure, following the style when it comes to learning how to write, and sort of us stepping in and being sort of that neutral person, I guess, as an instructor. We kind of are able to kind of get around some of those barriers that sometimes come up between parents and learners when you get to into, I guess, the middle. I won't say middle school grades. I don't like, again, like Lizette mentioned. Grades, we use ranges, but when you get into that preteen, teenage sort of zone, and everything is every yes, there's a no for every. No, there's a yes, and that oppositional. We kind of are able to kind of sort of be I guess one who's able to kind of get by that, just by the fact that we're not the parent. So that definitely does help.
That's true. I like that. Just having a resource available. Maybe it's, they do the project at home, but nobody's going to do it if it's just mom and dad seeing it. You want to have other people see the project.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I was just gonna say, like, one of the things like our kids love to do, and is that they love to share their projects in class. When we usually get to those points in the class, sometimes I won't share them live, but they have no problem with recording themselves, playing, and I'll play the video, during the class session, and then they'll take questions and answers and go back and forth with the students. And it's also very interesting just in the online environment, the friendships that have developed, with kids. So we give them some time before class to chat with each other. If time allows, we give them time after class. We found out with some of our older middle and high school range students that they actually, found each other, set up Google groups and Discord chats and things like that, where they were talking completely outside of our environment and working, together, doing things on their own. Again, as part of that, self-reliance and the skills that you want to see develop when you're, a homeschooler, and to take those challenges on. It's a great thing. I think the one surprising news we actually found was that, two families, a parent, two kids, the kids got along so well that they actually started planning like a joint camping trip together. I think one is in Arizona, and the other one's in California, and they're meeting together in one of the national parks to have a trip, stuff like that. I mean, it's just amazing, that kind of stuff can develop. And
I do. I love that. Well, Fernanda, I wanted to go back to something that you said in your presentation. You talked about how what you do is respectful and consent-based, and sometimes that can be really messy. I had to laugh because that's exactly what it is. It's messy. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you get somebody who doesn't really want to do what you have planned, but getting them over there?
Yeah, sorry, my internet is a little bit slow. So, our model looks overall, and I'll be really honest, it looks really messy. To the naked eye, you might say, these kids are just running around. There's no, it looks chaotic. But so we flip things around and we say that the ones with the agile minds, the professionals of the education, is us. So if we see that, something is not being as productive, we provide other things like, say, if we are in a museum or in a field trip and the children are really not engaged, we just offer something else. We say, all right, we won't come back here, or something like that. So we keep on switching things on them. And when we're playing outside, they know that we trust them. So they know that we trust them. So it's a two-way responsibility, that you're going to lead your learning, and I will provide you with the freedom and the tools and the space and the time, but you also have to be part of it. So really, there's no need for coercion. They know that they're trusted with their learning, and when you see the need for what you need to learn, of course you're going to go get it. Just to give you a silly example, the other day in Del Rey, there was a lost dog, and the children wanted to help the owner make signs, and they wanted to help the owner to make signs. And the children that did not read or write were like, oh, we need to find a way to spell our message. So they stopped and really sat with a teacher to work through, and then they made flyers, and they made a map, or where the dog was probably going to go, et cetera, et cetera. So we really don't need coercion when the children are motivated.
That's excellent. I love that. Well, I also teach too. So I have a little group of, 5 to 10 kids, and every once in a while you get one of those kids that just really digs in, like they're not going to do whatever that thing is. And I just realized that, they're people too, just like I am. If they just ate 2 big pieces of pizza and it's after lunch and they're not in the mood to do whatever the activity is, I'm thinking, I'm really not in the mood to do the activity either. So just being understanding and treat them as human beings, and realize that it may take a couple minutes, but they'll be ready. And, it just seems to be that the more that you build confidence with them, that you can get through whatever it is and get a rhythm. Every child is different, and you can learn what their triggers are. And, in fact, we have pizza a day once a week. We've been doing it now for about 3 years, and I'm actually really sick of pizza now. But the kids say that that's like their favorite thing in the whole world. You say, what's your favorite thing that you like about Tapestry Academy? I love pizza day. And that has nothing to do with anything other than calling for pizza. But I used to say it was unlimited pizza, just however much money you want to bring me, I would order the pizza. But I realized, after 2 pieces, they kind of go into pizza coma. So we had to put a limit. So anyway, also, I'm coming from the homeschooling world. We always have this phrase of, if a child was in public school for, say, 5 years, it would take 5 months for that child to figure out how to homeschool. So learning on your own, not being told what to do every single step along the way. So being curious and doing that. Have you all heard anything like that before? I see you shaking your head.
I wanted to add to a thought that you alluded to, Candy. May I?
Sure.
When you said that each child works at their own pace, this is really true. And we know this from neuroscience, that not all brains are the same. All children are within a range of development and of interest, and of their environment. Their environment will really dictate what's next for them. So if we know that they are individuals within a range of development, we have to keep our adult lens in check. Why are we rushing them to learn this by this day? Why are we worrying them with, these concepts by this month? So that's our adult lens of their life. But if we open it up a little bit and become more flexible and more compassionate, they will approach those concepts in their own timing. And I have students that did not want anything to do with reading or writing until like 3 or 4 months. And we kept on surrounding them with great books, great stories, and music and songs and different activities. They all read and write by the end of the year. They all do. You just have to respect their pace and understand that they're all in a spectrum of development.
So true. So I homeschooled first. I've been homeschooling for over 15 years, and I'm a mom of 6 kids. I thought I had it all down, and then my 6th child came along, and she was like, not doing that. So every once in a while, you'll get one who's a little bit more challenging than others, but it was so crazy, the whole learning how to read thing, that I swear the day that she learned how to read, it was the same time she also learned how to tie her shoes, and she learned how to ride a bike. It was like bam, bam, bam. She learned how to cross all those really great milestones. And I thought, all this time I was stressing that she was lagging behind, but no, she wasn't. She's just waiting for the right time for her. So anyway, well, how do you all stay positive? Teryliz, how do you stay positive during all of this? Oh, your microphone's off.
Their growth, their excitement, their progress is what keeps me motivated and excited. Watching them thrive and want to learn, falling in love with education, and that spark in their faces is all I need.
I love that. That is something really great about seeing the spark come alive. So excellent. Well, let's see. We've talked about a lot of these different questions here. Oh, here we go. Here's one we didn't talk about. It says, how do you allow your students to have a voice?
We have discussions daily. Whether we're reading a book or whether there's something on their mind, we sit down in a group and we have discussions where they all partake in how they feel, what they understood, and it's wonderful, wonderful how they share their own experiences, their own sadness. Even when a child has lost a doggy or a grandmother or something, we'll have a group, we'll sit in a circle, and they will all help each other and they'll discuss their losses and help each other feel better. So we're always doing that.
That's great. I know I saw a board once. I haven't done this, but I saw a board in another micro school that was a feelings board. So it had all the children's name and it had all of these little different emojis that you could use to stick next to your name, but it was how are you feeling today? And, you know, you could put that, you know, you're happy or you're mad or you're sad or whatever it was, but just being able to identify it and put it there was actually really liberating for the kids. And they didn't need to go sulk around because everybody knows this is how I'm feeling right now and you can talk about it. So anyway, that's kind of fun. What about you, Fernanda? How do you allow the kids to have a voice?
Oh my goodness, that's all they do all day long. We are a super democratic space in which they set the pace for the day. We only have a few things that are fixed, as I said earlier, like our reading, our writing. Those are fixed times, and you know, reflection time, resting time. But aside from that, they lead the day and they vote about, you know, they vote on everything. If we ever want to, you know, do circle inside or outside or things like that, even like the names of their fish, things, you know, we just give them, we give them a voice in as much as possible. And also choice, like actual real choice, meaning for book club, they can pick whichever book they want to read. It doesn't matter if it's part of an encyclopedia or, you know, a picture book. So they really feel that their choices are genuine, they're true.
I love that. Excellent. Well, does anyone want to share a little bit about how they started their journey? I know Teryliz, we talked about yours a little bit, how you started your journey. You know, it's always fun to hear everybody's little story on how they got started. Go ahead, Jonathan. How did you get started?
Sure, I'll go ahead and jump in here. Then I mentioned about my wife and how, you know, got started with our oldest, but my story is a little bit different. My son really was the reason that I got started in homeschooling, and it was a story I think Teryliz, you'll probably appreciate, because there were a couple of things you said, and it was like a flashback to his kindergarten years. He had gone prior to his being in kindergarten. He and his older sister had gone to preschool, and there was sort of the Reggio Emilio model, Montessori model, where, you know, he was able to go ahead and explore, kind of do things on his own. And he's the kind of guy, even, you know, at that age, where on some things he was definitely older. He acted older. He wanted to learn more about machines and metallurgy and, you know, some of the science factors and things, you know, at an age, you know, that a normal 4 or 5-year-old wouldn't necessarily act or ask about. When it came to going to kindergarten, and because of work and all, I found myself, my ex, we were in Northern California. He went to public school, first time. And about 2 to 3 weeks in, I had to go in to pick him up from school early for an appointment. I come into the classroom, and it was set up with all these little tables with like 6 children at each table, and there were like 5 or 6 tables that were set up around there. And I noticed as soon as I walked over to his spot on the table that they had that blue painter's tape in like a little outline around his part of a section of the table in front of him and around his chair on the floor. And before I could even ask, and turn to him and ask what this was about, the little girl sitting next to him said, teacher set that up because he doesn't know his boundaries, and he needs to stay within his space. And I turned and I asked, what do you mean? And he said, well, I was working and building a machine with the Legos, and I was trying to get the gears to function properly, and I worked on it for like 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden, she made me disassemble and put it all away, and I couldn't continue with it. And I wanted to go back and work with it. And then, other things. And it was just that, they were trying to make him fit into that box. Fit him into those slots. And he is not kind of the kid who wasn't fitting into the slots. I remember going to the principal's office at that point. I was really annoyed about this, and about, I wound up taking him home, and I started just searching online, and somebody actually who I worked with said, you need to read this book. And it was called Dumbing Us Down, and it was by a former New York City school teacher of the year named John Taylor Gatto. And if you're homeschoolers, some of you may be familiar, maybe a little bit before your time, but he was a school teacher, won Teacher of the Year award in New York, and then proceeded to give a speech at the banquet, totally tearing apart the structure of public education, why it was actually the worst thing for young minds, and then eventually wrote books about it, founded an institute. He recently passed a few years ago, but the institute still continues. And at that point, basically, I'm a little bit of a polymath myself, so I got the book, started reading, and I was talking, within 2 days, I had him pulled out of school. I said, okay, we're going to homeschool. This is 2003 maybe, so there wasn't a lot out there. I ordered a curriculum in a box from a famous school in Maryland that also had a homeschool program. It was a neat thing. And again, I was starting to get rigid. I said, this isn't going to work either. So I ended up unschooling, both for himself and his sister, and did that for a couple of years until I was able, and things changed, whatever. They wound up going back to school, but they never went to conventional school. They went to, special charter schools. And just to point out, my daughter works in behavioral health, and she's in her 20s. My son is just going to be turning 23 this year. He went to college for a year and a half and decided he didn't like college. He wasn't getting anything out of it. And he said, I'm going to do what I really want to do. And he apprenticed himself to a blacksmith. And he's actually working as an apprentice training as a master blacksmith. He makes custom cutlery for chefs. He does knives and swords for Renaissance fairs and for artistic, stage fighting and things like that. He got a piece that was shown on a cooking show on TV, and it boomed. It blew up his business to the point where he can't even keep up.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's just an amazing thing. Yeah, but that's how it is. For me, it was seeing this and seeing just that the system didn't work. And again, it's you can go back to that whole thing again as they talk about in John Taylor Gatto. You have to remember, the world is changing. Things are changing. Knowledge is increasing. The amount of knowledge that we deal with now, kids are dealing with now compared to what we dealt with when we were in school. It's excelled. We used to get by with the Funk and Wagnalls encyclopedia. You'd pick up a volume at Publix every 2 weeks as it came out. Kids now can pick up their phone and they can, tell you more about any subject than you ever would have dreamed of. Knowledge, itself isn't necessarily the best way to prepare them. They have to get self-motivation, self-assessment, communication, collaboration, conversation. In putting this all together and using technology, a lot of states now are requires part of graduation. And again, this is for those in middle and high school, that students actually take online classes. Why? because you go to college in your freshman year. Most of your classes are taught virtually. I went to University of Miami, and back in the 80s, you had certain courses, freshman courses, the teacher wouldn't show up. You'd go into a big room, and they would have TV screens, and they would play the video. You'd do the work, and then your TA would go and grade your work. I mean, you never really interacted with the professor. They don't even bother with that now. It's all just streaming online, TAs or whoever, is doing the remote grading. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That you're to decide. But the point is, students have to understand that that's how things are working in many cases, when, especially in the older years. So it's important in the younger years to give them the experiences such as Fernanda brought up, such as Lizette brought up, that personal interaction and all. We do that to give the parents the tools to be able to do that, and then for the older kids to prepare them to work in that, environment. So if they do decide to go to college, if that's the choice they're making, that they'll be able to go ahead and, fit comfortably in. And just to point out, my oldest, she got a full scholarship to the University of Miami. She got a degree in aerospace engineering. She finished 2 masters in aerospace engineering on a fellowship at University of Colorado in Boulder. She's worked at NASA. She's worked at JPL, Lockheed Martin, and she's looking around other job offers that are coming in. So,
that's great.
And she was homeschooled. She's like sort of, in a sense, she's like the proof, of the pudding of that homeschooling isn't just for the hippies or the ultra religious or ultra conservative. It can open all sorts of doors. She was, is kind of sort of been that test case in a sense, and it really has worked. And she's a great, well-adjusted kid, social kid, interacts everything, and all the kids, and they're all just in different directions doing their own thing, but they've all success stories. So, yeah. Exactly.
Well, I can't believe it. We have spent an hour talking today about non-traditional education, about homeschooling, about microschooling, about thinking outside the box. We actually talked about a box being taped on the ground for Jonathan's kid. That's kind of one of the reasons why he got started. Who would have thought that would actually be what happened? So apathy in students is definitely overcomable, and I'm so grateful to have met with each of you today, just to make new friends out in the education world. And it's just nice. Every time I've done this, I feel like I've made a new friend, and I'm able to be more interested when I see you posting online and in the tons of Facebook groups that are out there for homeschoolers now. I feel like I know each of you a little bit more personally. For Microschool South Florida, we are going to be doing another online info meeting like this 1 month from now. So we'll have 3 other homeschooling or microschool groups that are going to be presenting. And the idea is to just keep doing it once a month, to just keep building our online library so parents can have something to draw upon and feel like they have some people take a lot more coaxing than others. So we're just providing lots of opportunities to do that. I've recently also just joined in on LinkedIn. I'm realizing that that's a really great tool for networking with teachers, educators, and everything. So you can join us online on LinkedIn, also on our Facebook group, Microschool South Florida, and on our website, microschoolflorida.com, which is our free directory. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us. I will see you all out online. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Candy. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.